Good morning, everyone. This is Dec-20 from Edu-Met. Welcome to our December 20th training class. Hope everyone's well. I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday, which is just around the corner. It's only a few days away. We're going to be recording this. All right, we're going to be recording this webinar, and it'll be available on our YouTube channel by the end of the day tomorrow or sooner. Okay, you don't see it there, you'll see it'll have the date. Okay, if it's not there, we'll definitely have it by the end of the day tomorrow, so you'll be able to review anything that we go over. Okay, now the first step we're going to go through is the end of year procedure for the payroll. Okay, I have a couple of sites set up. It isn't that difficult on the payroll side, the end of year process, and what you basically do is just go into the current year. Okay, and you go to your maintenance screen, and on your maintenance screen, item 3, build new year. Okay, and it'll have the current year 2016, of course, and what this will do is this will automatically build next year's data. Okay, and just as a review, what the rollover is going to do is it's going to build all the demographic information for 2017. It'll bring over any information that we have as far as deductions, disbursements, banking information, federal information. So all the demographics. Okay, on the pay rate screen, it will carry forward any permanent amounts. And I had the wrong flag here. Permanent. Okay, so anything on the pay rate screen that's defined as a permanent amount, whether you're using the type, which eventually we're going to get rid of. I don't know why I'm clicking the wrong thing. Okay, whether you use the type or we introduced this last year and we said we're going to phase this out, but we'll let everybody know before we get rid of it if they're involved. But defining it as a permanent amount on type or saying yes to permanent amount is really the same thing. Okay, we just introduced this last year. We're going to phase this out on the underneath the type. Okay, and it'll bring over all the salary balance information. Any auto allowances or workers' comp will also be rolled forward. All year-to-dates will be 0. So if you go into the year-to-date screen, the quarterly year-to-date amounts, okay, everything here will be zeroed out. You're starting the year fresh. Anything that deals with deductions, disbursements, demographic information, tax identification as far as number of dependents, all that information gets rolled forward. Everything gets zeroed out, and only permanent amounts on the pay rate screen get carried forward. So don't enter extra pay in 2016 that you want to pay next year because it's not going to roll over. Okay, that's just the procedure. Okay, and what you do is just going back to the program. So this would be your first step, and what you would do here is just hit run, and it comes up, do you really want to create the 2017 year? And if you hit it by mistake, you can say no, of course. All right, and if you say yes, no, come on, I fixed that. Am I in the wrong one? Just bear with me for 1 second. I must have added something. Just bear with me for 1 second. Okay, let's try this again. I never seem to have enough of time during the day, and it shouldn't take that long. We don't have that many employees, but it's a relatively fast process. Okay, and it'll come up. The records have been created successfully. All right, so what happens now if we develop, that's HR. Okay, so what we'll do now is if we go back to the main screen, okay, and you'll see we have the 2017 year as one of our options. This will default to the current year until we get to January 1st, 2017. Okay, so this year defaults to whatever the physical year is as of that particular date. So when we go into 2017, okay, at this point, we don't check forward, we just check backwards. It should have came up with the bar though. Okay, so if we bring up that employee, you'll notice everything is zeroed out. Okay, there'll be no history. There's nothing there. Where do I want to go? Oh, so everything is brought forward. No year-to-dates figures. Too large figures. Can never win. So basically now your 2017 year is built. If you're running a weekly payroll, we do have a couple of our clients that run weekly payrolls. You can now go into 2017 and make any necessary changes, enter extra pay. So you're ready to go. And for any of our new clients, okay, you basically have 2 years that you can access simultaneously. So you can access 2017. I could go back to 2016 and do all my end of year process as far as putting in any adjustment for W-2 purposes. Okay, so now it is telling us that, what did I select? I'm going too fast. I got to learn to relax. 2016. Okay, so now once it's anything less than the maximum year, it tells you you're not in the current year. But you can go back into 2016, make whatever adjustments need to be made. If you have some, let's say you have void and reissues that have to be done, you could still do them in 2016. You just don't want to do, you don't want to do issues from last year once you start running a payroll, because then your check numbers get out of sync from one year to another. But basically, you can do any kind of void and reissues in 16. I wouldn't do it after you run a payroll in 17. Like I say, your numbers are going to be on different registers. You're going to have a higher check number in 2016. And by then you should be pretty well squared away as far as any issues. You would probably, reissues, any hand of voids or people that were missed, you're probably going to know right away that they didn't get paid before the holiday. So, okay. And basically that's it as far as your process. Okay. One thing you do want to do is when you do the actual build next year, okay, after you run this process, what you want to do, either call or email us that you've created your 2017 year, and what we'll do is we'll automatically update your tax tables for 2017. Okay, we'll update the federal tables, we'll do the state of New Jersey tables, okay. Now, anything else, if you have Delaware and Pennsylvania, we really don't support that. If we find out, we'll let you know. Like if we find out, before we upload all this information that Pennsylvania tax rate changed, as far as state tax or Delaware, we will, of course, include it. But if we don't know about it, we don't go out looking. You know what I mean? We support the state of New Jersey. That's all part of the maintenance, any state or federal requirements. And by state, we mean New Jersey. And anything else that might change. Healthcare copay has been the same. Group term life has been the same. So there really hasn't been any change. But anything that changes for January 1st, we'll take care of that. We'll build a year, and what we'll do is, we'll upload the tax changes, and what we'll do is we'll respond to your email, and we'll give you a hard copy of everything that changes. so you're aware of it, like, the SUI, the SUI max, usually the SUI percentage change. So we'll take care of all of that, and then in turn respond to your email with the information that was changed. Okay, and that closes it up for payroll. That's all you have to do on a payroll end. Part of the switching of the calendar year, there is something in accounting. If you go into accounting and you go into the control table, and upper left-hand corner of the appropriation, you go in the control area, and then we have various folders on the top. You go to the payroll folder, and what you want to do is after you post your last payroll or the month of December to the budget, then what you want to do is go into the control file and physically change this year to 2017. Okay, your payroll, everything other than that is all fiscal oriented. Your PO number is fiscal. All you have to do is change the year. And what this is used for when you go to post payroll to budget, I'll show you so you can see it. When you do anything as far as updating encumbrance, or when you do your post payroll to budget, it will reflect the new year that it's looking at in the payroll. So make that something to remember on the payroll end of it. Okay, and that's it really. That covers the payroll process. There really isn't that much to it. We'll take care of all the tax tables so you don't have to worry about it. One of the things that have changed is the uploading of your IRS file to the IRS. Okay, and we'll go back to payroll for that. Now, whether the state is the same, we're not sure yet. Usually the state follows suit, but we'll double check and we'll make sure everybody knows what's going on. If I go into reports, part of your W-2 process, you have your billed IRS file and billed state file. Right now, it's been confirmed that your IRS file in the past, I believe, was due like in the middle of March. Well, for 2016, you have to have this file in by January 31st. So your W-2s have to be out to the employees by the 31st of January. Okay, but you have to submit your IRS file by the 31st of January also. Okay, so I would recommend trying to get your W-2s out as early as possible. This way, if there's any discrepancies or if an employee calls with a problem, at least it gives you some time to fix that information, reprint the W-2s before you send in the IRS file. Okay, because once you send in your IRS file, after that, the only thing you could do is, I keep forgetting, you have to do a hard copy. We do have the ability to print a W-2C. Okay, so if you make any changes to W-2s after the submission of file the IRS, you have to run the print W-2C, okay, as far as defining what physically changed on that particular employee. Okay, we're going to get out of here. Okay, so that really covers it for the payroll. I'm just going to, everyone was muted. I'm just going to unmute everyone. And I'm going to open up my chat in case I get something. Lisa, has the meeting started? Is there anything wrong? You can't hear me? You can't see me? Or let me unmute everyone. Unmute. Well, I'm sure you can hear me because I can hear you. So we got an email. Has the meeting started? Yes. Okay. Do we have any questions about any of the payroll review that we just did? Anyone?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, this is Donna from Verona.
Hi,
okay, Donna. After you build the new year, are you still capable to do something in 2016?
Of course. Of course. I reviewed it. Once you build 2017, you can go into 2016 and do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And you can go back to 2016 until you physically decide to print your W-2s. We're not locking anything. We're not locking anything, so it's not a problem. You could do a void. You could do a reissue. You can do whatever you want. You forgot to pay somebody, you could pay them. Okay, just make sure if you do cut any checks in January, make sure you date them December 31st. You know what I mean? as far as anything that has to be done. But we don't lock anything. We never have. So, okay. Okay, Donna? Any other questions? Okay, so now we're done with the payroll, so I'm going to mute everyone again. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to switch gears and we're going to go to the HR. Okay, what we're going to review in the human resource package is we're going to review the control file. Will be our first area we're going to review on how the health plans gets updated for the following year. And when we get done with that, we're going to go into the health screen. Okay, we're going to go into the health screen. We also have dependent information at the bottom, and we're also going to go to the dependent screen itself. Okay, which these three pieces, other than the 1095C, which we'll go over later as far as the identifier, but they constitute what gets placed on the 1095C. Okay, we're going to go back to the control table, health plan. Okay, I already set up a health plan so you can get an idea of what we've physically done. Okay, so what happens here is, depending on the end of your current plan, like some districts do fiscal, some districts do calendar. I set up calendar as an example. Okay, this can be done at any time, what I'm going to step through, but you don't want to do it too early, because if you did it in September and you built everything for the 17 year and then people switch from married to single, well, then you're going to have to do the 2017 one also. Okay, so you really want to wait till December, like beginning, middle of December, where you feel where you're not going to get any kind of changes as far as the employee records. Because what we're going to go over first is, and I believe I have, I think I set up a second one, train. Okay, I set up a second one so we can go back and forth. The first thing I'm going to go over is the update flag, the update and the undo. Okay, so what the update premium does, it's actually going to create a new row for anybody that currently is in that particular plan. Okay, so this particular employee that I have up on the screen, they have the NJ Direct 10 Health Family. Okay, and that's the one we're going to be working on, the NJ Direct 10 Health Family. Okay, I'm going to review the screen for you. We just made a change, and everybody will have this by the end of, when you come back in January. You can still do your update now, but in the past, we've kept 3 years of information. We kept the current year, which is on the left, the open enrollment area, which is on the top, and the previous premium area. So we really only kept 3 pieces of information. So what happens is now with the 1095C, we really want to keep all that information forward. Okay, so if you notice what we have now is this is a multi-year table where the previous information, it'll keep as many years as you use our system. Okay, because if you notice, I have a column here for 2014, then another column for 15, and what you'll notice is when I do the update premium, now we're going to have 3. We're going to have 14, 15, 15, 16, and then 16, 17. So anytime you change a premium period, okay, where you're going to a new period, plan period, it's going to create an additional row. We did have one district last year that actually had 3 different plans for that 1 year. Okay, it didn't deal with health. It dealt with one of the, I believe it dealt with the dental. Okay, but they had one plan that ended in April, and then they had another plan through, and they were fiscal. So now they had a fiscal plan through the end of June. Then they had another plan for the second half of the year. So they actually had 3 different categories as far as periods of time. Plan period is when does the plan start, when does the plan end. Okay, I'm going to go over this and then I will review the open enrollment area so everybody's clear on it. Okay, so whenever you have the new premiums, I just have it in the open enrollment area. So you hit your update premium and you'll notice it loaded in whatever I have in the open enrollment. Okay, clear open enrollment, you just leave that as checked because it's actually gonna move everything around. Okay, and what this does is this is actually going to insert another row for 2017 on this employee screen, and we'll go back to this employee after I run it. So this is really the norm for this type of year, for this time of the year. So what I do here is, again, I had it in open enrollment. It sets it up. I hit my update premium. It's pretty fast. We don't have a lot of employees, and even there, it'll run quicker. But if you notice, what had happened was whatever information I had on the left-hand side now is down at the bottom, the 2016, 2015, and I also have 2014, because we really, let's imagine, 10 years from now, they still have the, the 1095Cs as far as the healthcare requirements. Well, you'll be able to go back 10 years and actually see, well, these are the codes that I used here. This was the minimum plan cost. All right, so we'll be setting everybody up so by January it'll all be in place. Okay, so what I did was an update is it took whatever was an open enrollment, it stuck it on the left. I did it when I did the update, and it moved the 16 down to the lower right-hand side. So now if I go back to that employee and I just refresh the screen, okay, if you notice now we have two rows. We have the 2016 plan and the new 2017 plan. Okay, and it would do it for anybody. If you have 300 employees, 500 employees that are in that plan, it would automatically create a new row for that employee for 2017. And if you notice, the premium is different for 2017. Okay, so that's what everybody that's on a calendar plan is going to be doing at this particular point, is running the update premium. Now, the undo, you should rarely do this. The only time you would do this if you made a mistake, let's say we accidentally updated this in September and we realized after the fact, we said, oh, why did I do that? You just weren't thinking, you know what I mean? And then you can do an undo, okay, and that would reverse everything. But you know what I mean? But you don't want to wait, like you don't want to find out like 2 months later and do an undo. This is meant you ran it and you found out a little while later that you made a mistake. It should have never been rolled over in September. I have to wait November. The undo actually reverses the process by changing the 17 information here. We change it to 16 and put this back in open enrollment. Then you could do whatever you want with it. Okay, because remember what the update premium does is it physically inserts a row on any employee that has that health plan that isn't withdrawn. If you withdraw out of this plan and went to a member and spouse, okay, then it wouldn't touch it. It would move the member and spouse one. Okay. All right, and I'm going to review the control file while we're at it so everybody understands the features. Okay. Now, if something, you made a mistake with this, like let's say the premium wasn't 925, it was 915, that's where you use your change. So the change is if you made a mistake with something on the screen, whether the date was wrong or the amount was wrong, okay, the change does not remove that row from the employee, but it fixes it. Let's imagine that this was really 915. Okay, so if you hit the change button, it says this is what you have current, and here you would just specify what you want to change. So let's say it should have been $915. You do your update. It says it's successful. Okay, it'll change it in the control file, and now if I go back to that employee, and you have to refresh the screen because it doesn't change it automatically. So if I look at that employee now, you notice the premium is $915. Okay, so the initial creating of the rows, that's what the update premium does. Undo, update premium, removes the row. Change is if you made any kind of mistake, you just hit the change, whatever you need to change. You know what I mean? It shows you all the amounts, and you can go out there and it'll correct that information on the control file and also on the employees. Okay. Upper right hand corner, uh, I don't know, some people just don't understand the open enrollment process. What the open enrollment area does is, let's say you have a calendar plan and your employees start coming in, it's open enrollment, and you'll have various health plans, and during the open enrollment time frame, okay, the employee could switch health plans, and that's what open enrollment is. Okay, where you go from an NJ Direct 10 to NJ Direct 15 health plan. They're different plans. It seems there's more and more of them. Okay, so what happens is what they've done, what districts have done in the past, they wait until January. Okay, and then in January they change everybody's plan. Well, you can specify the information under open enrollment. Okay, and when you go into, we already created this one plan, but what happens when you go into the health screen, when you do an ad, you can do it in advance, like these are all dated 14, but whatever is in the open enrollment area, that's what you see on this screen. So if I had anything on this one, which I rolled over already, okay, so this gives you the ability to, where am I? Here we go. I got to get out of that one. Okay, so what does that does is give you the ability to put that employee in the new plan for 2017 without having to wait till January. I hit the keyboard. Sorry about that. Without having to wait to January, you could switch it now. That's what open enrollment is. It gives you the ability to add it onto that employee screen before you do the update. So if that were the case, let's say, I'm switching from family to parent and child, well, you would go to that employee's health screen, put a withdrawal date in the family plan as of December 31st, 2016, and you would add the open enrollment row, and you would say the enrollment date is January 1st, 2017. Okay, so it gives you that flexibility. We already reviewed the premium, the previous premium area. While we're on this screen, we'll go over the various options. You have next and previous. You have the ability of creating a new plan, okay, which quite a few of our districts do. Delete. If there's any activity, it won't let you delete it, okay? But you really should just make it inactive. You have the ability of making the plan inactive, and this way it can't be used on any of the employees. We can run a report from here. We could do a screen print. To find is you want to find a plan. So if I wanted NJ Direct or NJ Direct SEHBP, it will give me the ability of displaying that on the screen. The provider type and coverages are the dictionaries for the first three items. The first three items constitutes a health plan. Who's the provider with a general description? You know what I mean? Like this is NJ Direct, and this is a plan. They have plan 10. Okay, the type is, what is it? Health, prescription, dental, vision. Some districts use medical instead of health, which is fine. And the coverage, of course, will be all your categories: single, married, spouse, member and spouse, family, member and child. So these are just dictionaries. If you go into provider, this is all a list of our providers. You need a new category, you just add a new provider. The coverage is also just a dictionary. You need a new coverage type, whatever it might be, member and partner. You could set it up in there also. The type is the same thing, okay, which is just a dictionary. But in addition, with the type, that's how we categorize what does this type belong to for 1095-C or internal reporting. Okay, so this health plan is defined as a health plan. When we do the 1095-C, this identifier plays a part in it. And it's a system identifier too. So, if, in the future, if we ever need to run some reports just for health plans, well, we could see that they are. Like if we look at medical, you'll notice that's also, it should have been health plan. Don't like that one. Doesn't like that medical guy coming up on the screen. Bad choice. Dental. Okay, it's not applicable. Okay, it's basically your 1095-C is just health insurance. If your prescription and health is bottled together, that's fine. But you don't have to say that, health and prescription is a separate plan. It doesn't have to be included. All they want is the physical health portion of it. Okay, and we also have another button here, and what this is for, and I got a matter of fact, I got a call this week, one of our clients are going to be doing it in January. This is replace employee health plan. Okay, and what this is for is, let's say that you're switching providers and you're moving everybody from NJ Direct to a Horizon plan as an example. I don't know if we have I don't think we have medical on this one. We'll just pick one as an example. We'll pick this guy. Okay, you notice this is the current plan and this is the new plan. And here you would put in a withdrawal date. Like we have clients that the new plan is going to start in February. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say January 2017. Okay, so it's going to withdraw any employees that are under the NJ Direct 10. It's going to put a withdrawal date of January 31st, 2017, and it's going to create a row for this new plan, which we're going to use February 2017. Okay? So what this is going to do, anybody that's in this NJ Direct Health family, it's going to move them to NJ Direct, SCHBP, whatever that is, which we call medical, and automatically put the withdrawal date on the current plan and put an enrollment date on a new plan. So if you're switching providers, this is a utility where you don't have to do one by one, and it basically says we'll replace the existing plan on employees. So on the employee screen, you would actually see, you'd see the original plan. You'd see the original plan for 2017. It would have a withdrawal date, and you would see the new plan for 2017 with the enrollment date that we use, the withdrawal and the enrollment date that's specified. And then once you have that, you press replace employee health plan, and it'll automatically change the plans. Okay, so that really takes care of the control file as far as the health plans. I already have an employee, I'm sorry. I'll go to my other screen. Okay, so I already have this employee. We inserted the new row. Okay, this is our health screen. You can, normally what happens with this is you're dealing with the enrollment and the withdrawal dates. The premium effective date and premium end date you can't change. That's linked together with the physical plan. Okay, you have your plan, you have your premium, your dependent employee share, dependent share, employee copay, which is the mandatory healthcare copay. And then we have employer share, which is the premium minus any of these three items, and that's what it physically costs the district. So if you had an employee share, the district portion would be reduced by any number that you have in there, okay, for that particular year. Again, you can have as many plans as you want. We have our display option. This particular person just has this year. It's a new one I set up. Okay, and then at the bottom we have previous and next, which is previous and next employee. This is where you would add a plan or delete an existing plan on the top. You could run a report, a screen print. Add previous plan is you find out after the fact. Let's say it's towards the end of January and you realize that Dan was in the wrong plan last year. Okay, so you can delete the plan from 2016, and then when you go add previous, it would actually look at the, it's looking at 14, but you would see the 2016 year that would correspond with whatever plan that employee is going to switch to. And what it does is it's going to look, and now we're going to have multiple, so You don't want to go back more than last year anyway. If you find out 3 years ago, the 1095C is out already. Okay, but what it does is it's going to look at the previous plan area. So it's going to look down here and see whatever plan you had the year before. You know what I mean? That's what the add previous plan is. It's looking down here, and it'll give you the ability to add it, which it doesn't come up because that person already has it. You know what I mean? They already have the 16, so it's not coming up on this drop down because, of course, you don't want to create duplicates unless there's a withdrawal date. Okay, we have our find by. If you do any kind of scanning, we have our display and scan, and then we have our exit at the bottom. Okay, so the top is basically pretty easy. You're creating the plans. You just got to be careful. Don't do the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Don't do the update premium twice because it's going to add the row twice. You know what I mean? So that update premium, okay, and I can't stress it enough, where it says update premium, that's a one shot. You don't want to do it more than once. It won't let you do it again. Okay, like if I go in here and I try to do an update with the same information, okay, update premium. Yeah, it's just taking it from over on this side. It won't let you create shit anyway. I'm going to test it. The premium effective date must be greater. So it's not going to create, it will never create a duplicate row with the same overlapping premium effective date or premium end date. So it won't let you do it. Okay. So you can't do it if you're using the same dates. But if you change these to, 2018, of course, it will do it. Sorry for bouncing back and forth. I just want to go through. Okay, so really that takes care of the health portion. The bottom portion, where we have our dependents, what that's coming from is that's coming from the dependent screen. Okay, this is dependent screen here where you have your dependents listed, and this is pretty much the same thing. Add previous next. We have our add and delete. That's how you add and delete dependents. Okay, we have a report screen print, defined bys, and the scanning image. Up on the top, we have two folders with the dependents, which this part is rarely used. This is the second folder is physician information, the number, the area code. So if you did want to keep it on file, okay, you'd have that capability. But this main screen is where you have the social, the relationship, first name, last name, the gender, the date of birth, whether they're a full-time student, and you have a notes field. And right now, all these dependents belong to the same plans. Okay. And we're going to go back to the health screen. And you could, as far as enrollment and withdrawals, you can do it either on this screen or last year we added it right on the health screen. I'm sorry, I went out too far. What we did last year is we displayed them on the bottom, but now you can either do the enrollment and withdrawals on this screen or you could do it on the dependent screen. Okay, one of the things that we added towards the end of last year just for maintenance purposes, because quite a few of our districts had to send in all the dependent information on the 1095C. So we decided to add this because we were getting all mixed up with, oh, that doesn't belong there, it does belong there. What this gives you the ability is to delete a dependent from a certain plan. Okay, so let's imagine we know that this particular, well, usually that's the spouse. This particular employee aged out. You can either put in a withdrawal date, or if this dependent aged out in 16, you can delete that dependent. If you notice, we have a delete button on the right-hand side. You can just delete the dependent from this screen, and then go back to the previous year, and then actually put the withdrawal date. Let's see that. Let's say this particular dependent aged out as of let's say November 30th. Okay, so it's very flexible where it allows you to fix stuff. Okay, but again, every plan has its own set of dependents. If you notice, if I click on the top plan, we see all three. If I click on the bottom plan, you notice because that one dependent aged out, so it doesn't belong on the screen. And now what happens if we go to the dependent screen? Okay, as we step through these employees, If you notice, the the spouse has two, the son has two, but this is Jane, where we physically removed her from the 2017 plan. So she only has the 2016 because she aged down. Or you can put the withdrawal date here also. Okay, I think it updates both. We just didn't clear the screen. Okay, sorry, I keep going out the old way. Okay, and we also have let's say you made a mistake. You said, I made a mistake. That child is handicapped and they should always be covered. You can't drop them out. Okay, we also have an add button. And what it'll do is it'll come up with a list of any dependent that's not on this plan. Okay, so let's say we did make a mistake. We can add it back in, and there you go. If we go back to the dependent screen, if we look at Jane, okay, she's back in the plan. You can put the enrollment date back in if you like, you know what I mean? The enrollment date at this particular point. Okay, and I think that pretty well covers it. It's pretty flexible. I think we'll give you the ability to add, delete, change whatever you can change. Okay, on the health screen. Okay, I'm going to kick into the 1095C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the lines. I haven't gotten any chats yet, any written chats. Any questions on the control file health screen and the employee health screen and dependent screen? Anybody? No? Okay, so
I have a question.
Sure. Who's this?
Um, it's Lisa from Jackson.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Good, how are you? My question is on the premium end date. We have a contract that runs through 2018, and when I changed it over for the new year, they told me that I had to leave it with a term date of 2017 or it wouldn't roll over correctly.
This is the health plan in a control file?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go over that. That's a good question because I really talked about 1 year. Okay, and J. Okay, this plan period could be as many years as you want. Let's say
Oh, it can.
Yeah, let's say we have a contract with Horizon that says, hey, this premium is going to be good for the next 3 years.
Oh.
Okay, so we can say, am I looking at I'm looking at the, you know what I mean? Like, let's use this as a scenario. Let's say we have a contract that this premium is going to be good for the next 3 years. Okay, what you could do is you don't want to go back. You don't want to change the start date, of course, but I can go back here and say this plan is good to 2019. There's no restriction on how long the plan period can be or how small it can be. You know what I mean? Like you could have a plan, like I told you, we had the one district, they had an existing plan through April, and then they got a new provider to cover from May to June, which is another premium, and then they were fiscal, so come the following year, they had 3 plans. So you can have a shorter period as a premium or as long a period as a premium. So I could change that to 2019. Okay, see it's here, 2019. Let me go to that employer. Get out. Man, I'm looking at the wrong thing. You know what it is? I exited. I don't want it to the control file right from here. And I'll go over it with you. That's a good one. Let me bring that employee up. Which by doing a change on that plan, it also changes any employee that has that plan. So if you look at the employee now, it says to January 17 to December 31st, 2019. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to bring up this plan. Let me get it up. What did I do? I could have sworn I changed. All right, this one. Okay. Now what happens is I don't have to touch this until December 2019. So I don't
And it doesn't
understand.
affect the rollover or anything? I was told it's going to affect the rollover to keep it 2017.
No, why would it, in what way would it affect the rollover?
I
That's,
didn't ask why.
yeah, it doesn't, as far as the health, as far as the HR, this plan is in effect for 3 years, end story.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you're not going
End
to
of question.
roll this. You're not going to, like, if this is good, I can get in and out of here. But do you understand that I'm not going to touch this plan until December 2019? I don't have to do anything with this because this plan is for good 3 years. So everything is done here. I don't have to touch this plan until December 2019. Theoretically, you know what I mean? Could do it in November. But your plan could be as long of a period as you want. We've had a. I got to mute everybody. I'm sorry because I'm getting sidetracked with it. Okay, so this can be as long as you want. We've had a lot of districts that had dental plans where they got a 2-year contract. Okay, so it would be, let's say it was fiscal, it would say January 2017 through December 2018. Okay, and now I'm going to unmute everybody. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know why the rollover comes into place because I should have touched base. We've done it so much in the past that, we just forget about it, to tell everybody. This health screen and dependent screen is totally independent of the fiscal year. Okay, there is no fiscal year. If I log into, as an example, if I log into 16-17 and I go to the health screen, okay, see what it's like. If I log out now, well, not log out, but if I change the year, the last year, 15-16, and I go to that employee, again, if you notice, they're there. It's the same thing as there, see it? So it's independent. The health screen's independent. The dependent screen is independent of the fiscal year. When you roll over, none of this information gets touched, okay? And there's quite a few screens that are like that. If we go into the salary screen is another thing that it's totally independent of the fiscal year. I logged into 15-16, but I see salaries I see 6 right there, and there's more before that. That's what we mean by independent. When you do the rollover, nothing here changes. Okay, this gets changed by the salary update. When you look at the health screen, this is totally independent. This gets changed when you do that update premium that we reviewed when you go into the control file. Okay, this is how that screen gets changed, and of course all the dependents gets changed. So again, you can have a short period for a premium plan as you want. You can have a premium plan for 1 month, and basically you can have it for as many years as you want. Okay, Lisa, you understand? It has nothing to do with the rollover.
Sure.
Because when you say rollover, you're talking about what gets done at the end of June where they create 17-18, right? Because that's the only rollover. Has nothing to do with it. Has nothing to do with it. If it's going to be the same premium, why have 2 rows? Why have a row for 2016 and then have a row for 2017? So you have 1 row from January 16 through June 30th. Well, we use 19 here. So that plan is good for basically 3 years. Okay, Lisa?
Yep, that's perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? No. No. Okay. What's that? We are done with this, so I am going to mute everyone. Okay, now we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but we're going to basically recap, what entails as far as what's included on the 1095C screen. Okay, and I'm going to go in there. I don't know if we have any data for this employee for the 1095C. It should work. If not, I'll go over to my access. I haven't built anything yet, so there's nothing in here, but we'll go over it. Okay, and we're going to start from the beginning, and the beginning is in the control file, the health plans. Okay, when we get into the health plans, and the 1095C only deals with health. That's it. Okay, so if I bring up, and some clients call it medical, that's why I left the medical there. So it only deals with health. And what you do is, this is where you specify the 1095C line 14. What code is 14? 14 was a plan offered to that particular employee. You know what I mean? And this deals with everybody that's in that plan is going to get a code 1B. The minimum plan cost. Okay, I can't change. I had 612 on this. Let's say this went to 625. I forgot to put that in there. Okay, the minimum plan cost, what that means is this is the cheapest plan that you offer in the health, you know what I mean, either health or medical. This is the cheapest premium of all the plans that I offer the employees. So you could be a family, but you don't need to use a code to say that you were offered family. A district offers you health insurance. You can be single, you can be married, you know what I mean? So you're really open. It really doesn't matter. That's why everyone uses the same minimum plan cost. And what this is for is, this is how the copay gets calculated. Okay, when you do 1095C, you're not going to see 625. Okay, what you're going to see on the 1095C is a monthly copay. Okay, and we'll look at it. I did some work on one of my other databases, so I'm going to go to development box because I think I did something with this. It might not be the 2017 year, but we'll find out. That's payroll. Let's get out of there. This way we'll take it a piece at a time as we go through. And I think I did do some testing. Come on. I might have not did this year. Yes, I did. Okay. So what happens is this amount on line 14, this is actually a copay amount. Okay, so what it does is it takes the premium and it sees what your copay would be against that minimum premium. Okay, and this might be a little high of a number per month, but that's what it's doing, is it's giving it to you per month. So let me go back to the control file. Okay, so that's what this does. Okay, now other than having the health information, and you also have to have it in the other years if you're running a fiscal health plan. Okay, let's say you're a district where your health plan starts July 1st through June 30th. Well, this is going to say July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. And this one's going to say July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2017. So when we build a 1095C, we're actually looking at two of these plans. Okay, so for the first half of the calendar year, there's one, we did change this side. Okay, so this is, if this was a fiscal plan, this would apply for the first 6 months, and then this would apply to the second 6 months of the calendar year, because you have two different premiums, one for the first half of the calendar year and a plan for the second half of the calendar year. We have like a 50-50 split between calendar and fiscal. The state works on a calendar basis, and it's like a 50-50 split. Okay, so that is how we, okay, so that's how we populate line 14, 15, and 16. Okay, and we'll go over this once we get into this screen. We'll go over the whole scenario. Okay, but that's where the system gets the line 14 code. Go back to that one. I keep bouncing back and forth, but it's good practice for me, I guess. Well, you know what it is. I'm deadlocking myself. Okay, we're back to this one. Okay, so that's where the 1095C gets the information for line 14. This is actually line 15 and line 16 for the 1095C. Okay, besides your health plan, there are some control plans that you set up, and I don't have it on this one, so I'm going to get out of here. I think I'm going to abandon my training one and get into I'm going to go into my development box because it's more, it's clearer. We've done some work with that. This is our development application. Okay, besides your health plans, what we did at the end of last year, which is available to everyone, you know what I mean, as we step through the programs, they're going to be, well, tell me I didn't even put it, yeah, I have it here. There's going to be some plans that are just control plans, like an example, not employed. Okay, there's a plan not employed, which means, let's say someone was hired September 1st of 2016. Well, they would have not employed from January through August. Okay, and that's how we would know. We take the date of hire, and anything prior to the date of hire, we would mark with the not employed codes that are listed on the bottom. Okay, and let's say the new hire was in the hire July 1st, I'm sorry, September 1st, but it takes 3 to 4 weeks to get your plan. Okay, so what we would do is from your date of hire to your plan enrollment date, these are the codes that the IRS wants for waiting period. So this is a waiting period. You were hired December, but by the time all the paperwork gets processed, you don't get coverage till, let's say, the 20th. Okay, so basically that year gets thrown out because with health benefits, if you're not enrolled in the health plan for the entire month from the first to the end of the month, you don't get credit for it on line 14, 15, and 16. Okay, you just don't get credit. That would be your waiting period, would be the whole month. Okay, they don't do a half a month waiting period and a half health plan for line 14, 15, and 16. So anybody that got enrolled in the health plan, let's say the 20th or the 15th or the 10th, well, they don't get credit for September as being covered. That would be the entire month would be the waiting period. Okay, and we have some other codes which we don't do automatically. The individual district would have to do these manually. As an example, not eligible. Okay, let's imagine we hired an employee part-time, they were a part-time employee. They were not offered because they weren't eligible for health plans. Okay, and then that employee became a full-time employee, whatever, let's say July 1st. Okay, well, from January through the end of June, this code is used on their health screen. So you would go on the health screen for that particular employee. Let me get out of here. We can do this one. So if we go into the health screen, you would add a plan here, not eligible. Okay, and I'm in a different database and I don't have it there, figures. Okay, let's go back to this one. So see, these are the things you have to do manually as far as not eligible. So I would have to go on employee here. And if you do an ad, it should appear here, even though I know this employee has stuff for this, which we didn't use the not eligible. We should have it. We do have not eligible. So you would put this plan in on the employee screen and you would say, okay, that employee was not eligible from January 1st, 2016 you would pick that plan. I haven't set up any plans here. So you would pick the plan for the 2015-16 because that's when they were not eligible. Okay, which I'm sorry, forget what I said. These aren't 1 year, they're like 50-year plans. You would put the enrollment date and the withdrawal date for when that employee was not eligible. Like you could say January 1, 2016, right? Yep. Through August. Okay, this is something you have to do manually because we don't know. At this point, we don't know. That doesn't like that one, right? January through August. I think it does like it. Let me see if I can move out of the screen. Yeah, it liked it. It just stayed on that field. Okay, so this is the way you would denote an employee that was part-time during a portion of the year, then became full-time, or vice versa. Let's say you had a full-time employee that retired and then they came back as an hourly employee, okay, which they did have health coverage for part of the year and were not eligible for the other half of the year. So, okay, so again, we go back to, okay, so that's the various plans, and we do have one more. I'm just going to go in there for 1 minute. I'm trying to think of the other one we have because I think we have 4. We have not eligible. I'm going to go in here. It's a little bit easier to follow. Okay, so we have waivers. We have not eligible, not employed. Maybe it is just those 3. What do we have? Not employed, not eligible. Well, I don't think we have them all in here. Believe it or not, you're supposed to have the codes for COBRA. If they're on COBRA, you're supposed to specify the COBRA. We did the waiting period, the waive. That's done on the regular plans. Okay, so that takes care of what's controlled by the control file itself. And I believe I'm already on that employee. Okay, so that's part 1. That's the master. You got to have all these health plans and all the waivers and the waiting period, not employed, and so forth. So you need that to populate the 1095-C. The second thing that's needed is what type of employment type 1095-C. Okay, basically what we do here is the only type that gets a 1095-C is a full-time equivalent, and a part-time offered health. So this is basically saying, hey, that person wasn't eligible. Well, we're giving this group health benefits even though they weren't eligible. Okay, so those 3 types control whether they're going to get a 1095-C. Part-timers don't get a 1095-C. Not applicable, whatever. That's you know what I mean. Or blank is equivalent to not applicable. You know what I mean. And what happens is if you change the status for whatever reason, let's say somebody was part-time. I'm going to just skip over the dates. Oh, I'm sorry. Part-time, update. Okay, and let's say they became full-time on, let's say, September 1st. They started as a teacher. Then I want to put the true. You really want to put the true start dates on the different positions. Again, I say update, so now the employee is full-time. And we have a history for that. That gives you a breakdown of the start and the end date, what they were. Like this, we've been playing with the same person since last year. You know what I mean? They were full-time from January 1st because that's basically the beginning of the 1095-C requirement. So everybody last year we slugged in January 1st. If you want to change, you could change it. And then we've been doing some testing, so we withdrew them out of full on the 19th. I'm sorry, the 20th they became part-time, so, and then they became full-time in August, then they became part-time in December, and we have them in as full-time. What did I do? 2026, you believe that? I made a typo and I have to, I think we could change it there. No, I'd have to delete it and re-add it again. Okay, so this is what controls whether or not the employee gets a 1095-C. Okay, so, and then you get to you go to your health screen. If you're required to report dependents, you have to have all your dependents on the bottom with enrollments. You don't need an enrollment date. It's not mandatory. Okay, or a withdrawal date if they age out or something happens. Okay, so you have the ability of changing the enrollment date and the withdrawal date on the dependents. This is your enrollment date and your withdrawal date on the health plans. Okay, and this information gets queried to create the 1095-C. So what it does is it brings together all that information, the plans, what codes go on the plans, what period of time you had that plan, what period of time were you full-time or part-time, and that's how it knows whether or not to build a 1095-C. Okay, and this is some testing. When you first go in here, this will be blank. Okay, for the particular employee, like I just want to go get one that doesn't have anything. Like here's an employee that's physically blank because we didn't populate anything. All right, so if I go in there, it's gonna, because we don't have anything on there. Everything is all blank. If we make this employee full-time, this is just test data that we're doing. It's fine. And I'd go in my 1095-C. So at the beginning of the year, not the beginning of the year, but the beginning of your getting ready to build your 1095-C data, that's what you're going to see. When you come in here, nothing is populated. Okay, nothing at the bottom. Okay. What you do is there's various programs. I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just going to go over a couple of them. Okay, the main thing is, the first thing that gets done is to build the 1095-C data. Okay, and what this does is this looks at all those various pieces, and I actually want to add a plan in there because I don't believe this person has one. Okay, so let me add a plan for that employee. And I should have a 2015. Health, family, nope. I just want to make sure we load something in there with that NJ Direct. Oh, this is my other database. Sorry, I forgot I moved out of the other guy. I don't even have. I got July. Let's take this one. At least we have a plan, and that's fine. We don't. It's not mandatory to have an enrollment date. It's nice to have to see when they started. So let's say this particular employee started January 1, 2016. And this is through June right now. At least this way you can see it getting populated. Okay, so if we look up this particular employee, we have nothing on the screen. If we go to the update 1095-C, this is build 1095-C data, goes through all the employees and builds it again. This is saying we had checks in the beginning. We figured some clients didn't want to do it, but why wouldn't you want to do it? You know what I mean? The automatic waiting period. So what this will do on any of the would it be a waiver or an opt-out or health, this will automatically fill in the waiting period. Waiting period? Yes, it'll fill in the waiting period from your date of hire until your plan starts. The second is autofill not employed. So what this does is any month previous to your hire date, it would make non-employed if you were a new hire. If you get terminated, anything after your terminated date would be considered not employed. Okay, so it'll automatically fill it, fill that screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a 1095-C. These are the two things I think are important. And we will have something ready for January, the very beginning of January, like within that first week in January. Also another check, and I'll show you. So it didn't autofill anyone. And if everything's working, possibly we could see it. Okay. And if you notice, this employee did get populated with information. okay, on the screen. You notice they didn't have anything before. Now they do have the information. And if we go to, and the next thing you do after you do the build, you go into the build 1095C data analysis. And what this will do is it'll go out to all the 1095Cs and see, are there any employees that don't have any data? They're identified as full-time, where they get a 1095C, but it's all blank. Okay, you can't print a blank 1095C, you know what I mean? So it's saying, well, these employees, according to the criteria, they receive a 1095C, but there's no health, there's no waiver information on that person's screen. Okay, so that's what this is saying. It's to say there's something wrong here. It's a full-time employee. How come they don't have something on the health screen? Okay, so that's the employees with no data where they supposed to have it. They have a health, they were loaded into the 1095C, so there's got to be a reason why it's missing. And the next item is employees with all 12 months not defined. Okay, and I'll go over it when it comes up on the screen. Okay, what this one is really, it's only got January, nothing else, you know what I mean? Basically what happens with the 1095C, every month has to be defined with something. If you're a new hire, everything before should say not employed, terminated, not employed, okay, not eligible. Well, that should be there should be no blank months between January and December. Every month should be defined with some kind of code. Okay, not eligible. Okay, if they want a COBRA, you know, you have the COBRA to continue their service, but you know, so everything should have a code. Now, what we're going to do with this year is we're doing our best to, you know, keep everybody happy. We do a lot of modifications with a lot of our applications, so we're very busy with programming. But what we're going to do here, and we'll have it ready for the first week in January, is what we're going to do is we're going to check the history screen. I'm sorry, we're going to check the health screen. And if somebody has something on the health screen and they're not identified, as a full-time or a full-time equivalent or part-time offered health, we're going to kick that out as an error. Like if somebody has something in here, if they have a plan in here, they have a plan on this screen, but somebody forgot to switch this flag. Okay, that's what that third option is going to be. Okay, part of this. So now we're doing a lot more with checking the data to make sure you don't have to go through manually and look. So the third one is going to be employee with data on the health screen, but not getting a 1095C. So that'll be our next check process that we'll be doing on there. And again, it'll be ready by the first week of January. Okay, and then there's various reports and printouts that you could run before you do the 1095C, after you do the 1095C. I don't want to get in there. Sorry, I left my phone going. I have to turn it off. Okay, and that's how these three lines get populated. Now, this is very simple the way it works. What happens is you have an all 12 months, then you have January through December. If the code is the same from January through December, and the amount is the same from January through December, okay, and this is whether you accepted line 16 code. If it's the same for all 12 months, then the IRS says, well, don't fill in the months, they're all the same. Just say that person had coverage all 12 months, okay, which this would identify whether or not they have the coverage. Okay, if there's a gap in here and it's not the same, like let's say a new hire, well, these codes wouldn't be all the same because a not employed is a different code than a 1E for health. So then you'll see, like, I don't know if I have anybody in here. A lot of these are, here's one as an example. Okay, you notice here I have something in January, but then the rest of the year is blank, and the same thing with all three of these. Well, you don't fill this in because all 12 rows are not the same, or all 12 columns are not the same. Okay, I don't know if we have anything that's a little bit easier to see. No, we don't build a lot of our stuff in there, but you understand how it works. If this code is all the same from January through December, check this, leave this blank. If the amounts are all the same for all months, put it in here in all 12 months, leave these all 0. And the same thing with 16. All the same, put it in all 12 months, leave it all blank. And if one is different here, it's not going to be filling this, it's going to be filling the 11 months plus whatever the different one was. Okay, and we have our dependent information. If you require, some districts don't require it depending on your health provider. Like I believe if you're on like Horizon, I believe they send all the dependent information to the IRS, so it's not required that you do it. But if you're on a state plan, they definitely do not submit health dependent information to the IRS, so you would have to print it on there. So you'd have to maintain your dependents. Now, whatever we do on this screen, okay, now like there's one example that I'll go over that I'll try to get it done by the processing in W-2s, is the way the system, the way the IRS defines it, you have to have the coverage for the whole month from the 1st through the 30th or the 31st. Okay, if you don't have coverage for the whole month, you don't get credit for it. Okay, and basically that's I don't know what we use. It's not eligible. No, what are we going to use? No, I'm sorry. So here's a scenario that we have, and it's hard trying to get around it. That's why programming is not the easiest thing in the world when you come up with the scenarios. So let's say an employee went from single to married, and they switched health plans on the 15th. All right, let's use June. So for the first half of June, they were single. The second half of June, they were married. Okay. What happens is we have to try to mesh those two together, which I don't know how we can do it, because there's a couple of the districts that actually use the line 14 to, there's different codes. Like you can set up a code for single, you can set up there's a code for married, there's a code for employee and spouse, which is not necessary because you offer your employees any of those plans. But if they prefer doing it that way, that's fine. So if we get a half and half, what code do we put in there? Okay, what do we decide? The second one, the first one? We don't know. You know what I mean? What to put in there. So in a scenario like that, we have this particular report as an example. You know, I'd like to see a good example. We have the validation. That's what this does. Like if we do this analysis, and we'll just use a for instance when we go to change the data. Okay, now this particular person, they don't have anything from February all the way through, but I've run this in a few of our sites, and what you'll see is you'll see a 1 month gap. Like they'll have coverage from January through April, and then May is blank, and then June through the end of the year. That's because in April they switched plans in the middle of the year, middle of the month. Okay, so we don't know what to do. We don't say, hey, they didn't work. They worked 15 days under this plan. 15 days under this plan. 15 days under the other plan. So what you can do for the time being, if we get it done, fine. There usually isn't that many that break in the middle. What happens is we give you the ability to override this information for April. Like April would be blank. You can go into part 2 override screen, and you could specify the code and the copay. So let's say they were single, and you say, well, okay, well, I'm going to put April under single. You could put the code for single. You could put whatever the copay was for single. And I'm not familiar with a lot of these codes. Okay, so I could change it here. This, just imagine that this would be blank. And if you exit and update, then it'll change that month to whatever you change it to. So this gives you the ability to manually change any month you want. So these employees that changed changed coverage in the middle of the month, or changed the health plan in the middle of the month. You know what I mean? Which isn't a problem. I think it's the coverage that creates a problem. But this is what you can do. This allows you to override anything you want. Okay, and we do have an ability now, because we didn't have it before. Let's say, oh, I want to revert back to what it was. You can just remove that data. Sorry. You can just remove all that data, and it'll revert back to what it was. We don't show it on the screen, but okay. So if I go back and I hit OK, it reverted it back to what it was before. So you don't have to say, oh, I changed it. What did I change it to? If you remove it, it'll change it back to the way it was. Okay. Let's ask for questions. That pretty well covers it. Again, this was like a brief overview. So, and we still have 12 people. So. Is there any questions or anything that I could highlight, or anybody?
It's all coverage.
They still have coverage. Does it make any difference? Really?
Hi, Dan. It's Diane, Pleasantville.
Hi, Diane. How are you?
Play with it. Just
I'm
either-
good, thank you.
Good.
Just want to make sure we wait for you to build before we do anything, correct?
You don't wait for me. You're all set.
So I can build?
Yeah, you just go
They
through
wanna
the
see-
steps.
You to build?
Make sure all your plans. Make sure all your plans have the appropriate code. Hold on one second.
The total.
I had to mute everybody because I can hear you guys at that end. So you want to make sure all your control file, all your health plans all have the line 14, 15 information. Where am I? Okay, you want to make sure all your plans have the 14, 15, and 16 line. We'll change this. We want to put line 15, so it's not good, because this is actually line 15. You want to make sure they all have data. If there's missing data, it's not going to process a correct 1095C. And also if you have a calendar plan, it shouldn't be a problem, because you're going to be looking down here. Now it'll be looking here until you do your rollover, then it'll be looking here, because remember, it's looking at these days. So you want to make sure if you're fiscal, you're going to have your left-hand side. All these they should always be populated regardless. You should always have codes in these first three. Now, if anybody needs some specs about we have like the waiting period. Okay, you could shoot me an email and I'll send it to you. Okay, this is the way it should look. You should have waiting period, not employed, not eligible. I'll give you the codes that are supposed to be used. With all these things, there's no copay, so it'll be on the sample, because basically what happens is, if you're not employed, why would you have a copay? You know what I mean? That's why we're able to say, well, this is from 2015 to 2025 or 2050, because there's no copay that's going to be changing. Don't go by my data. We do a lot of testing. So, okay, so these are like, we consider these controls here. This is a little bit better to look. Like you have your not eligible, not employed. And what was the other one? I'll look right through this stuff. Waiting period. So these are like controls, because when it asks for, do you want to auto-fill, those are the three things the two things, the waiting period and the not employed we do. The not eligible, you would have to do manually on employees at that particular time. Once you've got that, then you can do the build, and you could run those two options that we have. I'm in the wrong one again. People are starting to leave. Get out of here. So your control file's got to be all right before you do anything. And then once you do the build, then you can run this analysis report, and it'll tell you if employees have missing data for the whole 1095-C or monthly gaps in the 12 months. So at least it'll tell you who to fix. Then you got to go out there and fix whatever's missing. You know what I mean? At that particular point. So, okay. And like I say, once you do, if you do the override, that person will drop from that list, because what it does is it checks this area, then it applies the override, and then it looks for this scenario. So if you fix it manually, that person will drop from this list. So it'll be correct as far as the system knows. Let me unmute. Okay. All right, Diane, is that pretty clear?
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem, no problem. Any other questions? No. Just one more thing. I should have said it in the beginning, but if you got a notification from the IRS to change your password on the what do you call it, on the e-services, you know how whoever did send the file, we have a few districts that didn't, but whoever sent the file last year to the IRS, if you got notice, please change your passcode in 30 days. Well, if you didn't, you got to re-register again this year. So I would get on it. Now, as far as the time, I think it's the same as last year. It may not be as long as last year. I'll get the information and we'll make sure we go over it in January. As far as printing them, January 31st. But as far as uploading the file, I think they give you like 2.5 months like they did before, I'm pretty sure. You know, so you have, I think you got to the end of March or at the middle of March, so, because I did receive some information from one of our clients. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, we're at 13. Any other questions? Well, it's an open question and answer period, so is there any questions you want to know about? Payroll, accounting, anything else? No. Last time, no questions. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget. Go ahead. Have any questions, by all means, call us or email us. And remember, we recorded this, so we'll upload it to our YouTube channel, and it'll be available again no later than tomorrow at the end of the day. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Have a very nice holiday. Stay safe and enjoy the time off. Take care.